Hello again, guys. It's Michael here with a video that I'm going to title as the supply and demand market report on energy and metals. I thought I'd do a quick review with you guys on those two asset classes. So I use CFDs to trade those, crude oil, natural gas, and copper, gold, and silver. So that's what we're going to do in the next few minutes. Again, going to try and keep the video succinct. So let's start with crude oil. Just remember, guys, that this is just me sharing my thoughts. It's not a recommendation to buy or sell. Okay, it's just purely educational purposes. So looking at crude oil on the big picture chart, we can see that crude oil has been, it's obvious to everyone that crude oil has been in this downward move. It's coming down to lows that it was at in 2021, and it's beginning to show initial signs of, stemming the bleeding from the sell-off that started way back at the beginning of 2022. So we've had some supply taken out with the move that happened in April, and we've come down to a demand level that was created as a result of that move. Now, this is something I'm going to say now is it's only a supply and demand trader who would be conceptualizing this as, oh, this is the opportunity to get long. They wouldn't be wrong, but they would be very, very early, probably one of the earliest market participants to come into the market, which sometimes can be a good thing, but a lot of the times it just leaves you unable to either hold a trade when you do get a really good entry. For example, just quickly imagine that this level actually works. The supply and demand trader could be picking the low in crude oil for several months to come. But what tends to happen, sadly, is because you've caught that low, it's often psychologically difficult to hold the trade while it's doing that or pulling back a bit, and very quickly the supply and demand trader, takes their profit, and then they see the market shoot off, and it's a question of then trying to find a way back into the market, which sometimes can be difficult. Another way to approach this would be to let the market embed, settle in. If you imagine that it's likely to have a lot of movement in here, possibly for another who knows how long before the eventual move, because all of this move here needs to still be sort of digested. There will be lots of methodologies, particularly the trend following methodologies, that are yet to trigger. So just bear that in mind. Supply and demand, one of the advantages and also a disadvantage, which you often don't hear. Yes, the methodology does have disadvantages. It's not a magic bullet or something. Is that you can tend to be quite early, obviously because it's based primarily around price action. You can tend to be early. So if you are going to be early, taking your profits is one way to manage and sort of counterbalance being early, but it can leave you with a sort of bad taste in your mouth if you then see the market go and then you're struggling and trying to find another way to join the trend that you had joined down here in that level. So just bear that in mind. It's not the greatest rally. If you look here on the daily chart, it's not the greatest of rallies yet. You are in an uptrend by the classical technical analysis approach, where you have higher highs and you have higher lows coming in. What hasn't happened and I'm not getting ready to trade this. What hasn't happened yet is you haven't taken out that level, which is the daily supply that's still holding prices down. You're working your way up towards it, and it might be that you eventually, punch through it. Or it might be this is where you get slammed back down and the trend continues further to the downside and resumes that downtrend we can see on the bigger picture. So it's in an undecided mode right now. So just bear that in mind, okay? There's no need to rush. Patience. Let's go to natural gas because I don't want to make the video too long. So natural gas, obviously everybody and their mother knows it's been in one of the biggest of downtrends. I actually caught this leg of the move. I think the video is on YouTube, or maybe it's just in the roundtable section. But yeah, that move from an 8-hour supply zone up here, I caught all of that up to there. Obviously it moved further down, but hey, you can't get, well, I can't anyway. I'm sure there'll be people who can. I can't catch everything. Okay, so it's trying again, just like crude oil, trying to embed and settle in around 195, and still has that level around $293 to break through. So again, not really much happening on this energy market right now. It's still probably going to do a bit of backward and filling and settling in here. And you can see it attempting to turn more clearly on the daily chart. You can see it producing what we term the smiley face on here as it's trying to turn, but it's still got a lot of work to do. For this type of trading, there's nothing yet to do here. What you do know is the downtrend has ended. What hasn't happened is a clear uptrend start. Okay. Shorter term trading, obviously, there will be levels to watch. But because the big picture is not so great, it's more dicey. I mean, you can see, for example, with short term trading, if you're trying to trade that level, it's been punched through now. One of the reasons is because the big picture is not set yet. Okay, let's move on. We go on to silver. And silver obviously has had its own big move and it's now pulling back. You now have a pattern on the weekly chart. Again, just using your eyes, higher highs and higher lows. It's got levels, the all-time highs up in here, but it's managed to come from a basing period, rallied up and created this pattern. Now it's pulling back. It needs to settle in. It's been quite sloppy. It needs to settle in. And on Friday, you can see that it had a very strong rejection of the sellers. So anyone who was selling on Thursday and had their stops above Thursday's high probably was stopped out. Again, it's beginning to try to stem the bleeding. It's not done enough yet to go long. If you're a supply and demand trader who trades embedded zones, you're already in that trade. Yeah. If you're going to wait for confirmation, it hasn't occurred yet. For confirmation, I would humbly suggest waiting for at least that high to be taken out and then giving you more leeway to start looking for pullbacks to buy at. Okay, but with the two ways, at least one of the methods of entry, one of the tactics you can use if you're using the embedded zones, if this zone scored highly in your methodology, in your approach of the methodology, you would already be in that trade and hoping that you've caught the lows and it's going. That may be the case, but again, it's going to be psychologically how that trader will hold on to the trade, because if this is indeed the turn, you could be in a very, very good trade long term. The other trader who's waiting for what we term quote unquote confirmation has a slightly higher chance of being more comfortable psychologically in holding that trade, but obviously everyone's different. All right, so keep an eye on silver, keep an eye on gold. Gold has been the stronger. I mean, if you look at just real quick the gold-silver ratio, gold had been the stronger up here, was the weaker one. It was showing strength there as well in the last 3 weeks, but it's hard to decide. They have periods where one is stronger than the other, and they sort of hand the baton off to each other. So, but looking at the chart here, that's the weekly demand zone. We had that level on the round table. We did, quite a few discussions on this level when it was pulling back and forming these levels. So that was a really good trade idea. Now we've had the move out, and we've created another level that made it to new highs, went further on, and is pulling back. Now I've circled this level in particular just to point out where it is on the big picture. So you can see the blue circle where that is. It's not quite at the levels of demand on the weekly, and what you have is a daily downtrend. So just be mindful of it. It looks okay. It's a bit sloppy, but okay in terms of the structure of the zone. I'm not so sold on the location, plus the fact that it's going to be moving against the trend on the daily. So again, maybe a confirmation here. It's definitely worth watching. If it gets down here, maybe with a bit of confirmation in there. I'm not placing an order to buy at that level, I can tell you that for free. But a level to watch. Okay, let's go quickly to copper, and copper has been quite good in terms of levels over the last few months, and we are now down here. Copper's taking out demand levels and the downtrend, where you now have, even on the weekly chart, as you can see, you have lower highs all over there, and you have lower lows coming in. So we can see the direction is clearly down. Question is, where do you now join the trend? Where's the best place to join the trend? Again, like I did in the most recent video, showing you the idea of waiting for the imbalances to form before taking a trade. So if you look over here on the weekly chart, if you look at that area, I've just circled it so you can also see it on the weekly. That level hasn't formed, but on the daily chart, it looks like you're rallying into a drop base. I mean, that's an ugly drop base drop. Too much time spent in that area. The move away is absolutely does not qualify either, but I'm sure there will be traders who will be looking at that level. It may work. It's not ideal though. And we don't look for perfect, but when I say ideal, I mean it doesn't meet the filtering process that I've got and that I recommend. But on the daily, it looks, it's rallying into a level. But on the weekly, there's actually no level there. And on the weekly, to be fair, there isn't any quality supply. So copper would be a pass. It's given us the trades up in when it was hitting into weekly supply. It's given us the trades, but for now, the quality has gone out of it. So it's a pass. Okay, it's a pass for us. And that will be that. We did it. How many minutes was that? I don't know. But I hope it helps. I hope it's interesting for you, and it gets those gray cells going. I wish you all well. If you have any questions or you want to join us, it's storehouseanalytics@gmail.com. Take care, everybody. Thank you for watching.